So this past weekend, The Jungle Book crushed the box office competition. The film provides a CGI update on the 1967 Disney musical, which of course was based on the 1894 book by Rudyard Kipling. Norm, why do we keep revisiting this story?
In this case, it's because it's profitable. It's Disney. This is a thing they're doing now. They're making live action CGI remakes of all of their popular animated hits. Last year it was Cinderella. The year before that it was, I want to say, Maleficent. Before that there was Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. There was the Sam Raimi Oz the Great and Powerful, which I think at this point Disney thinks they own. It's just the next thing on their list. I don't think there's any particular cultural choice other than now it's possible to do it with CGI and create photorealistic bears and tigers, which really works against the concept of singing and dancing fun animals. There was a remake of Charlotte's Web about 10 years ago with Julia Roberts as the voice of the spider, and it's terrifying. Like, I saw it with a bunch of kids at a 10 a.m. screening, and they made photorealistic animals, which includes long close-ups of a spider, which is the least sympathetic, empathetic creature you can have. Just these 8 black eyes reflecting nothing and terrifying the children. Like, I was sitting there and kids were just sort of squirming in their seats, and it was really unpleasant. I saw The Jungle Book at a critics screening at 10 a.m. on a weekday, so there were no children there. But I'm really curious to see how it plays because Shere Khan is terrifying. He's this, we can render a burned tiger with one eye milky and give him the voice of Idris Elba, and that's a great performance, but he straight up kills a wolf at one point, and that's going to be traumatic.
Let's get some of the context for the conversation around this re-release. So, critics are revisiting also the contentious history of the source material. With this. So, Stephen, tell us why The Jungle Book is such a controversial piece of literature to begin with.
I mean, Kipling was part of the English elite in India, and he was a colonialist, and he was a supporter of World War I. I mean, I think he's a much more complex man than has been portrayed by his critics. Like, he was a complete supporter of these things. And so, it's this old game of, well, he came from this evil time, therefore let us throw away all his work. I mean, I find it fascinating that the two works we're talking about here, the two most powerful, popular stories right at our moment are a fantasy novel that is highly derivative of ancient English stories, like stories you could have heard around a fire in England 1,500 years ago, and a boy who speaks to the animals and has to be human, which is the story of Enkidu from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which is 4,000 years old. I mean, I think these stories are retold constantly and in different frames, and this is just the latest frame of it. I mean, some people call this nowism, where you basically judge the past by our own current moral standards. I hate it. I think it is one of the most parochial is a parochial vision of history, and it's also incredibly forgiving of ourselves and our own evil in time, and the evil of our own systems. Which of course, like, he was a part of the English elite in England. He was involved in a terrible enterprise. But on the other hand, I think all art comes from these moments in history, and it's just naive to think that we can find only in history evil and that we are all good. I think it's wrong.
Rachel, what's your sense of this new version of The Jungle Book and the conversation around it?
I mean, it's interesting because I think that they were very careful to, separate this new version from the most troubling parts of Rudyard Kipling's original source material, and also from the earlier Disney movie. There was the Louis Prima singing "Wanna Be Just Like You."
Oh, that's still there.
It is still there, but it's Christopher Walken. It's not done in the sort of black Southern voice. They've separated it from that. I mean, it's there.
Let's play a clip of that song from the 1967 Disney version.
Oh, ooby-doo, I want to be like you. I want to walk like you, talk like you. You say it's true, and ape like me can learn to be human too.
That's I Want to Be Like You from Disney's 1967 version of The Jungle Book. Rachel, if you can just explain what we just listened to there, and then maybe we can shift to...
When it came out, the king, he's an orangutan, was named Louis, after Louis Armstrong, but he's voiced by Louis Prima, who was a white singer. And the Disney people actually said at the time, if they had a black actor voice him, that the NAACP would go lose their minds over this. So they knew that the inference of a character who is a monkey saying, "I want to be like you" to a human had an incredibly racist message behind it. So they even knew when they were making the film that it was a problematic character, and that's been, I think, the thing that's been the strongest criticism against the original Disney movie. They keep the song in. They've, I think, sort of declawed some of the racial overtones in it. And I think that they've also, part of the original source material in the original Disney movie was about this idea, this sort of romanticization of the noble savage. And Mowgli plays this character, this Indian kid who's, in the woods. He's a free spirit. He lives among the animals. There was a lot of anxiety in the time about industrialization and people losing touch with that sense of nature. And I feel like this current incarnation kind of splits the difference. So, spoiler alert, Mowgli does not go back to the village as he does in the original Disney movie.
Well, no, if you do that, you can't have a sequel.
Yeah, you can't have a sequel. That's part of it. But I think the idea is trying to not sort of separate this idea of man versus nature, but man in nature. So it's it has a different kind of thematic tone to it.
Yeah, I mean, the books don't even apply, really. The film that we're seeing now is a remake of the Disney film with the Rudyard Kipling stuff is just gone. There's no colonialism. There's no aspect of any of that. The Indian characters are played by Indian actors, which is a huge step forward. And yeah, the thing about King Louis, though, is the song is about how he wants to kill like a man. That's the other thing. And I think, yeah, in 1967, you're going to get Black Panther stuff going on there. That would have been another problem if they'd had a black actor voice the role. But now he's a warlord. They've turned him into a 20-foot-tall Gigantopithecus, voiced by Christopher Walken, who wants to wage war on humanity. They even introduce him as Colonel Kurtz from Apocalypse Now in this amazing reference. But you're also dealing with the fact that it's just insanity. It's an attempt to preserve the thing that Disney thinks they want about the Disney movie memory, but they're trying to bring it into the present day in a commentary that just doesn't work at all. So I think it's so jumbled that you can apply any criticism to it, but also any defense. The new one makes no sense.